What is going on, everyone? My name is Northy, and today I have myself the round 11 preview. I always like doing these because they're a bit of like a, make the video on the day, upload on the day. I get to talk and get excited for the round ahead of myself. Oh man, and I hope you guys find these videos exciting too, because they are definitely one of my most favorite videos to make. They're consistent, they're always action-packed, there's always something to talk about, and it just gives me the opportunity to talk anything AFL, which is, I hope, something that you guys enjoyed from these videos as well. But obviously last week, not too great. A few things here and there that went wrong, but this week I've made sure to pick up on a few things, make sure that everything is confirmed, everything is ready to go, a little bit of research as to who is playing where, and I'm hopeful that maybe we can see a big performance this week. I just got to get lucky. It's in some places, but nonetheless, we've got an interesting week ahead of us. First off, we've got the Silver Starpowers lineup. Now, this is a really, really hard week for Starpowers. I feel like Starpowers will be less successful than my top team this week, and I will explain why, obviously, but very minimal changes for Silver Starpowers. The only change is Clayton Oliver is not in, because Clayton Oliver has been out. He is out for this game, this upcoming round. I believe they play tonight. No, they play tomorrow against Fremantle. So that'll be a very interesting game. If only Clayton Oliver could be playing, but he isn't, so I am sticking with Adelaide, who are playing Brisbane. So they're going to need Rory Laird to step up a bit, and I'm hopeful that they can do so. Rory Laird has started playing a bit down, but you can see last week had himself a nice 131 point performance. Would like to see that again from him, especially now that we've got him in. Let's see what he can do. Nick Dacos coming off a rough week. Obviously, he has a bit of a target on his back, so we've got to see exactly how people are playing against him now. But mighty mids, we've got Nick Dacos in there once again. I'm trying to figure out a change here for Charlie Cameron because I'm not too comfortable having him in again. However, they're up against Adelaide. So we'll see how that goes. I think they need him to be a bit more involved, but at the same time, you can't always need someone and then they just perform to that point. Sometimes when they have a role, they play their role and they do it well. And for Charlie Cameron, that is to kick goals. You can see he had himself 2 goals last week, which is pretty effective. Just the 2 marks and the 7 disposals, though, means he is not too good in terms of grabbing some points for us. So hopefully he can get a bit more involved on the ball this week and we can see some nice performances from him. Next up, we've got Chad Warner, who's playing his 50th game. He is in his 50th game. That is crazy to think. And Chad Warner has already been a really, really big name to look out for this season. Only the 93 on average. I was thinking about going with Zach Butters because a lot of people have been starting to pick up on his play. But I always kind of have the feeling, and I think that's why Nick Dacos surprised me so much. Usually when people's name starts to rise, that's when they start getting tagged. That's when teams start to plan their games around them. That's why players like Chad Warner are usually able to do so well. Tom Green has been consistently great this year. Chera, he finds himself some good games here and there as well, averaging nearly 100. And Bailey Scott, not many people are thinking about Bailey Scott in their pre-game plan, so when Bailey Scott gets the chance to, he can go off. And then Doherty has been legitimately the most reliable person out of every single player here. He may not win it every week, but you can see here, he, other than Libba, is the only one that I can remember averaging over 100 points. Yeah, it is not even close at the moment. Jeremy Cameron obviously had a lot of talk about him earlier on in the year, but Doherty is just the safest pick and probably the smartest pick to have if you have him. He is the best epic card, I think, out there at the moment. But that is who we've got. Obviously, last week didn't go too well. 478 points, not what we're looking for. We're hoping for a bit more. So we go to Ultra. Let's see what our Ultra is looking like. This is probably the toughest one that I have to show off. So you can see here a few usuals. Tom Green, who we chucked in the other week. He is still in. He had himself 111 points, so he's going to be in there in the young guns position again. Noah Anderson, we're going to stick with him. I'm hopeful that this ends up being a good choice. He's had himself a really, really good season, but Luke Parker can sometimes just be a bit more consistent, and so I may need that from him. But they are playing against a really informed Fremantle side, Carlton. So he may actually get involved a lot more. He may actually play well. This is a big test for Carlton, but I'm still confident in picking Anderson. I think he's an on-baller who they're going to look for as much as they possibly can. So hopefully Anderson can find that form again. Of course, the week that I pick up the Team Starpowers of Clayton Oliver, he's out with injury. So this Tim Kelly Team Starpowers is going in. I picked him up off camera and it was either between him and Jaden Short. I don't know why I've gone with Tim Kelly in this case. I just have. Jaden Short could easily be a better choice, but Tim Kelly, West Coast needs players to step up, and so I'm hopeful that Tim Kelly will do so. Honestly, it could go either way. He either will shrink under all the lights that West Coast have kind of been under, or he'll burst out in the way that West Coast needs him to, but we can only find out one way. But last week, we ended up getting 131, rank 131, 750 plus points, which is okay, I guess, but again, it's not what we're looking for. We want to try and breach that that under 50 rank. And I don't think it's going to happen with this Ultra team this week, unfortunately, unless we get really, really lucky. I don't see it happening. This Silver team, though, I'm always confident with the Silver team because at the end of the day, you need the Silver team to, like everyone's on a same and similar playing field with Silvers. So I'm hoping that we can find the right player here this week. This may change last minute as well. I may change this after the video. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just not 100% confident with Charlie Cameron just yet. But that is Starpowers for the week. Let's go over to top 10. Now, a few changes here and there. My normal midfield pick was Clayton Oliver. Obviously, now that he's not playing this week, he is not going to be the midfielder. We switch it up with Zach Merritt, and the reason I've done so, they are playing West Coast. So, Essendon versus West Coast. You'd think that we'd get another really good performance from Zach Merritt, maybe even Darcy Parish, if you guys are looking for a sneakier pick. I'm not sure if Darcy Parish even played. Yeah, I could be wrong there. I could be very, very wrong. Yeah, it looks like it. I think he didn't even play. That's okay. Yeah, there he is. But Zach Merritt, he obviously did very well last week. He was the best player, and it may seem like a bandwagon pick or like just trying to hop on the hype, but considering they're up against West Coast and he's in form, you'd think that it means he's got a good performance in him. Who knows? It really can happen with anyone in this list. Dom Sheed, I can guarantee you not many people expected to play that well. But this time we've got James Sicily as our defender. I do not think he'll win it. I think often there will be one particular defender that just has an incredible week. Purely based off the fact that he may be needed more than others. But Sicily's always a safe pick because Hawthorn, obviously, it spends a fair bit of time in their backline. Not last week against West Coast, very clearly not, which was good to see that Sicily at least made the most of his opportunities. Probably used the marks and 1%ers to swing the ball around. Very effective in the backline. Not even a goal scored in the second half, so you can imagine how effective that backline was. But we're sticking with Golden. Golden, again, really, really good so far. 106 last week. Would like to see him breach that again this week and go over. And Tim English, once again, we are sticking with. He just remains the best one to pick for the Ruckman. He has well and truly broken out of the pack now. He seems to be the most consistent pick for everybody. So if you do have the Western Bulldogs Best and Fairest card, chuck Tim English in there as soon as possible. We go over to top 18 though. This week for top 18, I am very excited to see how this turns out. So, we've got Zach Butters in there. You'll see at the top for the midfielders. We'll go through the midfielders first, I guess. Coming off a big week last week. The good thing with top 18 is that you can kind of like test the waters a little bit with certain players. So we've got Zach Butters in there. Zach Merritt is also in there off of a really good week and coming up against West Coast. So not a bad choice there. I've chucked the Bont in there because I believe they're up against Gold Coast. Yeah, they're up against Gold Coast. So who knows? That could end up being a really good one. The Dogs are in good form at the moment. I could easily switch that out with Bailey Smith if necessary. We're keeping Tom Green because he seems to be averaging a really high amount consistently. So we're just going to keep him in there for the safe option. And Sammy Walsh, we kind of need him to have a good game. They're up against Sydney. So you'd hope that with Sydney only beating North by 3 points, you'd hope that Sam Walsh can at least find the form to try and be effective against a team who are kind of still trying to find their feet after a really tough grand final loss last year. We will just have to wait and see, though. We will have to wait and see. We go over to the forwards, though. I'm going to go to the forwards. Jeremy Cameron, he's going up against his old side in GWS, a fairly old side now. And usually how I do it, my reasoning was just, for some reason, I feel like he's just going to go off against his old side. That's just purely instinct, and sometimes all you need is that instinct to really get you over the line, but we're sticking with Jeremy Cameron. Zeeble in there, he's just a safe forward pick all the time because, again, he's not a forward, he's a backman, so I don't know why he keeps being put here, but you can see he always gets himself marks. You'd think for a forward, if he's got 7 marks, he'd have a couple goals. No, he doesn't, because he's a backman. We've got here, though, only the 21 disposals, which is actually low for him considering he almost always takes the kickouts. The only times now that I've seen him not take kickouts is when Harry Sheasel's taking them, which is actually really, really cool to see Sheasel taking that leadership role almost. But we've got Charlie Curnow in there as well, averaging 88 for the season. He's just a very, very tough opponent, and hopefully he can keep this goal average up and grab those 7 marks again as well. Would be nice for the pickups. We've chucked in Nick Martin. He is a forward. I don't know whether we'll be seeing a lot of midfield action from him maybe. I've honestly been a bit off the radar with Nick Martin so far this season, but he is a forward for Essendon, who are coming up against West Coast. We could see something good from them. We've also got Shea Bolton. Shea Bolton, I had to double check and I had to make myself very clear with this pick because he is being played on ball. You can see here 28 disposals, 3 marks and 2 goals from him with 120 points. Is amazing for a forward, and he's probably doing it on ball. Most of that damage is probably coming from on ball positioning, and so I've chucked him in. I've double checked the lineups to make sure that he is being played on the ball. He may get switched up in game, obviously, depending on how the game's going for Richmond, but I am hopeful that this pick will go our way. But then we go to the back line. Now, the reason I'm super worried with my top 4 is because Nick Dacos is going to be playing North Melbourne. That's why I'm kind of concerned taking out Dacos for top 4. But thankfully for top 18, he's still here. He should be able to find some form against North Melbourne. You'd think so. All the signs kind of point towards that being the case, but I don't know, man. I don't know. People kind of have like that target on his head. You'd hope that he'd be able to find his way out of it. As young kids, they don't want to have really tough times. You'd like to see them shine and like to see the success stories. But yeah, I am not terribly confident keeping Dacos there. But I could be wrong. I could always be wrong. Nonetheless, Sicily's in there as well. Sinclair off a really strong week. Really good to see him bounce back into form. Doherty, he's been super reliable. Will Day is probably the only weird pick so far this week. He's averaging a fair bit for the year, but I'm not too certain who will be better for a position in this one. I mentioned Lachie Whitfield a lot, but he only got the 86. To be fair, it is better than Day and Dawson and Dacos last week, so Whitfield may be a better pick. Who knows? But I am hopeful that they will be able to utilise Will Day in this one. And then Jordan Dawson, who you can see right here. Sorry, my face cam's kind of in the way of that one. He has been really good this season. A bit of a down week last week. Only the 1 mark. Had himself 20 plus disposals, which is okay. But we'd like to see him just play a bit more, stable, be a bit more aggressive with the tackles and such for my sake. Surely you can do it for my sake, Jordan. Come on. We go to the ladder. As you can see here last week, the big thing about last week was that we just didn't get a rank. I must have not saved it in time. You can see here, weekly selection save, so they can't do me dirty this time. And then top 4 last week, we did save it. We got rank 132, and 400 plus points is okay, but not good enough for a top 10 spot. So, let's go over to our tips now to finish this all off. I will go through this quite quickly. I've got Carlton versus Sydney. I've gone with Carlton. I think Carlton will be able to take it, although Sydney are coming off a win and Carlton coming off a loss. I think Carlton will have it because you have to put into context that Sydney's win was against North at the very dying moment, so there's a lot to kind of be worried about, although Hickey does come in, so it would be nice to see Hickey have a good performance and bring Sydney over the line. Saints versus Hawks. I've gone with the Saints, even after a strong showing from Hawthorn. I think the Saints will take it. I feel like they should. Melbourne versus Freo. I've probably not been giving Freo the attention they deserve as of late because of how poorly they started the season. I just know them as the team that we beat, that North Melbourne beat. So I've just never given them the seriousness that I think they may deserve now. They're finally starting to find their form, but I'm going to tip Melbourne. This is Fremantle's chance to prove me wrong. Geelong versus GWS, I'm going with Geelong. I think there's nothing really much to talk about there. Dogs versus Gold Coast. Gold Coast on their best days can give a challenge to anybody, but with the form the Dogs are in at the moment, the surprisingly strong form they've been in, I'm going to go with the Dogs on this one. Essendon versus West Coast. With the state West Coast they're in, you just simply can't pick them. Richmond versus Power. I'm going with Port because Port, obviously, they are in a very, very strong stage right now where they should be winning almost every game they play, except for the occasional difficult one, which could be with Richmond, but I am confident that the Power will take it. Collingwood versus North, pretty self-explanatory. I said it was Sydney, but I feel like Collingwood should be able to play it better this time around. Play it better than Sydney did. I do not expect this one to be close, even though I did want to see it. I really did. And then Adelaide versus Brisbane. I've gone with Brisbane. Adelaide off of a really poor game in Ballarat could just be the conditions that kind of mess with them, or it could be them maybe going a bit over their head. So this will be a good test for them, see how they play against a side like Brisbane. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Best of luck to you all in round 11. If you want to see how last round went and more of a discussion into that one, be sure to click the video on the screen right now. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.